Hello, and welcome to the Designing with Love podcast. I am your host, Jackie Pellegrin, where my goal is to bring you information, tips, and tricks as an instructional designer. Hello, GCU students, alumni, and educators. Welcome to episode 31 of the Designing with Love podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Caroline Amberson, who is currently completing her master's program in instructional design at GCU. Welcome, Caroline.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming and doing this interview today. So we'll start off with the first question. When did you start your master's degree in instructional design here at GCU?
I actually started this January, and it's mid-May as of this recording, so about 5 months ago.
Great. So you're well along in the program, and you're trucking along, right? And
yes,
getting your classes done. And then great. So what aspects of the program are you enjoying the most so far?
You know, I found that I was a little bit anxious coming into it because I did my undergraduate many years ago, and I've had some other graduate experience with different programs and things, but I've never really done a fully online course before. So I was a little concerned that, I'm not sure that I will like the pacing or the platform. And the LMS actually has been so streamlined and simple, and I am a sucker for a nice user interface, and I really think that it's easy to use. So I have to say, online and being able to create an organizational system that works for myself has been one of my favorite aspects.
Yes, it helps when you can have that everything laid out to where you know what you need to do, how you need to do it, when. That really helps. And I think that's one of the things that GCU has done really well is they've laid out the curriculum really well so that way you go from class to class and you know what to expect in general. Yes. And that way, the only thing that may change is your instructor, but you kind of have that idea that 2 DQs are due each week. One's due on Wednesday, or let's see, when's the first one due? Monday, and the second one's due on Wednesday. So you at least have that structure, assignments are due on Wednesday. So it's nice to have that nice structure in place, and knowing participation is always going to be worth a certain amount of points, and so are DQs. And the only thing that may change is assignments. Those vary. So right. It's nice to have that structure. Great. Well, that's wonderful. So you're always going to be a LOPE now. Yep, that's great. So what kind of work do you currently do right now?
I'm in kind of an unusual position where I am currently, so this is my 22nd year as a classroom educator. I have worked for San Bernardino City Unified for a little over 2 decades now. I teach at an elementary school. Right now I have a combination class, so I teach 5th and 6th grade. But on top of that, for the last 12 years, I've also been a program specialist. So I am a demonstration teacher for my district. Which means that not only do I maintain my full-time classroom, which is open to guests who want to come observe lessons or see strategies in action, but we also do live recordings in our classrooms of lessons that then post online. We also do a lot of instructional design for the district. So we have pretty regular CSTP workshops. CSTP is the California Standards for the Teaching Profession. So we do workshops on those for new teachers. I present at New Teacher Academy. I basically am kind of a jack of all trades. The demo teachers all are. So if any department in our district says, hey, we really need somebody to come present about blank, then they tap us on the shoulder and, like a superhero, we kind of spin around, activate, and then jump right into it.
Right. That's great because it helps to be able to have that on-demand type of skills that you can be able to just jump in and be able to help. And you mentioned instructional design, so you've got some experience already, in that forefront of it. And now you're able to kind of take this program and learn some different things that you can apply in the job now. So that's great.
Very much, yes.
Yeah, that's great. So even though you don't have the title of instructional designer, it's amazing because we can still do instructional design work without having the official title. So it's kind of like, being a leader. We don't have to have the title of a manager or supervisor, and we can still be a leader. So that's great. That's wonderful. So are you, so it sounds like you're really happy with what you do. So you're probably not looking for work or planning on looking for work. As an instructional designer, you probably want to stay where you're at. But is that something that maybe down the road you would look at going into, maybe as an instructional designer like maybe in a different industry, higher ed or corporate or anything?
So for now, no. But I started teaching when I was 22 years old, and I'm 22 in, so you can do the math. But
Right.
that means I'm also 21 years out from retirement. And while I absolutely adore teaching elementary school and I love being a demo teacher, I also have to consider, like, what would future Caroline want? If I'm hitting, my 43rd year, is it possible that I might be exhausted or maybe just burned out or maybe just looked for something new? So I want to sort of set up the possibility that there could be something outside. But for right now, I'm not necessarily interested in pursuing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
that does. It's not off the table, but it's more like, I'm good where I'm at, but there's always that possibility. As that saying goes, we should never say never, right? Because
exactly,
just never know where life will take you.
I think too, because I have to create and develop presentations for, my mentees and for other teachers within the district, and then I present them. So I've been really hands-on in instructional design for many years. So it does make sense to sort of like formalize some of that education, because I've been very lucky. I actually started this program with a friend of mine who is my grade level partner, but because I had so much graduate experience from similar classes that they were able to carry over the unit. So now we're not at the same place in the program anymore because I've already had several of these classes. But I also consider, so before I became a teacher, I thought about several different careers, and something that always really just struck my fancy was I've been very interested in natural history museums for my whole entire life. And I look at some of the educational outreach programs living in Southern California, we have some of the most amazing natural history museums in the world, just like right at our doorstep. And I look at their educational outreach programs and I'm very impressed, very curious, and would like to know, hey, if there was ever a time when I felt like, okay, maybe I need a change, or, maybe it's just that you've been doing this for so long and now it's time to look for something new and, try something that you haven't done yet and stretch yourself in a different way. That might be something that I'm interested in pursuing as well. So with this program, I hope this is, instructional design, and I'm looking at a doctorate, maybe in instructional technology, to sort of move forward and see if that was something that I would still find interesting and maybe eventually parlay into a career.
Right. That's great. Yeah, that's something I've been kind of looking at too, is whether I want to get a doctorate degree or not. And I can tell you later because I don't want to say the university, but there's one where you don't have to do a residency. So I'm tinkering with it. I'm not sure yet. And I guess you can use AI someone said the other day in a webinar that I attended about AI in higher education. And they said, well, you know what? You can use ChatGPT to actually ask you for good dissertation topics. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? Maybe I can do that, because I've been doing that to ask for like episode outlines for my podcast and other things. So I'm like, wow, okay. So you can use it for so many things. So, and of course, instructional design, is really helpful too. But yeah, that's great. I love that. And the nice thing about these museums now, I saw one of my former students had actually kind of introduced me to some of that too, because she's also interested in education at the museums and other types of places like that. And she's like, here, go online, because I think it's the Natural History Museum in New York where they have this whole entire online program for students for different ages. And they can still go in person and learn too, but it was really neat. They had like all these different elements of history, and it was all segmented for different grade levels. And I was like, wow. And they had immersive experiences for them. I'm just like,
exactly. Wow. And that's so exciting to me. So I thought, I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Because I stumbled upon it as an educator, having my students explore different museums and the California Science Center. And we're so close to Los Angeles. So we've got the LA Natural History Museum, the La Brea Tar Pits. They're just over a dozen of them in this area that we can send kids to in person. And then also, before we were taking field trips there, we were exploring their online components. And similarly, it was things that were I was in awe of their outreach program and thought, I think I would love to be able to do that someday.
Wow. That would be neat. Wow. And I think that museum too, they had like a whole Hebrew class where you could learn different languages. And one of them was Hebrew. So you could learn how to write and even down the road speak in Hebrew.
Wow.
And they had like a a Jewish scholar that taught it. I'm like, wow. So they had classes too that you could take online, and some of them were just in person, but some are online too. So I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And they were expanding their catalog and stuff. So yeah, that would be
imagine
fun.
how excited people are when they stumble upon that, and realize, oh, this is free. And it's something that maybe I take the class online today, but maybe I work up to being able to take a trip there in person in the future, or even just having that as a spark for their, creative pursuits of education.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. There's definitely some great museums that I want to visit, like in California. And then I want to go on the East Coast and visit the ones in DC and go to the ones in New York. Like there's the Museum of the Bible. I'm like, that's like at the top of my list of places to go, museums to see, is the Museum of the Bible, because they've got all these different exhibits. And I'm like, oh, I want to go to that one. Oh, I want to go to that one. So that's really neat. So, and they've had artists and other people of faith that have gone there and done recordings and stuff like that. And they show different aspects of it. And they've done, virtual tours. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I can imagine how exciting that would be to work there.
Yeah, I was going to say, now imagine like being the person who's responsible for the creation of those things. That sounds, that's where I get really excited.
Yeah, it's like it just puts a fire inside you, right? And you're like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because I've heard, that education is just, it doesn't matter what age you are. It's just, if that spark can be lit, it's like, it's wonderful. I never thought it would be a college instructor, but you just never know where life will take you. And so I have a friend that actually he's just started helping his son with a business, but he used to do instructional design, and he worked for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. He worked in higher ed and then in Fortune 500. And he's like, yeah, higher ed is good. And even education in general is good. They don't pay as much, but if you have a passion for it, go for it. But he said with corporate, they pay more, but you don't stay there as long. So he kept bouncing around. And I'm like, why are you bouncing around? And he's like, because your time is up after 3 or 4 years.
Their design and then you move forward.
So I'm like, oh, I don't know if I would like doing that. I don't know if I'd like hopping from place to place. I mean, he got to work for Fortune 500 companies. And then when he got his last job was at Apple. And I'm like, Apple? Wow, that's pretty big. But he was able to build up to that. And so it was a good experience for him. But I'm like, I don't know, just having to learn the culture over again somewhere else.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even consider that aspect. That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. And then having to go through new hire training. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So I can understand why, the longevity of something is just, it's appealing. So
yeah. Well, and I feel like for me, I've already been a teacher for 22 years. So I have what some people would consider a full career behind them. And yet I still see so many years ahead of myself that I feel like I can contribute positively, and that I just genuinely, I really love being in the classroom with kids. And to have, I think I lucked out because I don't know of any other districts that offer the opportunity for you to be able to stay in the classroom and be a classroom teacher working with children, which is definitely where my passion lies. But then also to be able to, take that and expand upon it as a program specialist position and work with adults and teach new teachers and work with veteran educators who just want to like improve other skills or, develop lessons together, that sort of thing. And I don't know that I would have had that opportunity anywhere else. So I think, like you said, when you see something that's good, I think I'm going to stick with it for as long as I can.
Right. Exactly. So your depth of knowledge and what you're able to teach is just, it's pretty neat because you're able to teach the little kids, but then you're also able to learn adult education principles and theories and apply those and be able to do that too. So it's a holistic type of job that you have, really.
It's funny you mentioned that too, actually. You asked about what I've been excited about the program, and that's one of the things that came up. In a class that I think I just finished it, my last class actually, we really were talking about andragogy and the like learning styles of adults,
right?
And I've been working with adults now for 12 years and writing lessons and lesson designs for them, and never really I guess it was able to put to words a lot of my experiences. And I felt very validated by, oh, that is exactly how I do it. I didn't realize I was doing it the right way this time. Okay. And then also, oh, I was getting close to that, but I just needed this bit. And oh, I was nowhere near that. And I've been having grown-ups do the wrong thing. Yeah. So it really has been a great experience for me being able to, sort of self-evaluate and reflect on what I've been doing for the past 12 years and what I can do for the next 12 to make it better.
Right. Because it's not just because sometimes people will say, well, it's not really part of my job description. It's just an additional part of what I do. But it's like, no, because I do the same thing. I help with curriculum, higher education curriculum, but I also help with professional development and training for the employees in my department, and then in the wider spectrum of that too. So even though it's not in my job description, I still look at it as part of what I do every day. And stuff. So, or even it's not, it's kind of, I guess it's part of my job title, but just it's not in the traditional job description, but it still has meaning. And it's pretty neat.
Definitely in my job description, but it's a description that has evolved over time. So when they initially created the demonstration team, we were meant to just be teachers in the classroom demonstrating lessons that they recorded and then occasionally podcasts and that sort of thing. But then over time, it has really become, actually, we need you to move out into the educational community and, start creating professional development modules and that sort of thing. Wow. So it's not necessarily something that I was initially hired to do, but it has evolved into that's what I'm doing. So I really appreciate that now I'm like getting my feet wet with the principles behind it, like the driving principles of Android.
Right. Hello, I have some exciting news to share with all of my listeners. There is a feature called Fan Mail. What this allows you to do is send me a text message anytime during the episode. There's a link located at the top of the description in each episode, and it says send Jackie a text message. So when you click on that link, you'll be able to send me a message letting me know what you thought about the episode and if you have any ideas for future episode content as well. I look forward to seeing your text messages. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And you've kind of touched on this somewhat too, but are there any specific areas you wanted to point out in which you're able to expand your knowledge and your skills with this program that you feel like you're really trying to hone in and really get to the heart of with this program?
So absolutely working with adult learners. It's, again, something that I've sort of been, I guess, like had a blindfold on and like feeling my way through the hallway of making sure that I was getting things right and getting feedback and, receiving feedback from like my supervisors and also from my students, my adult students and participants in my classes and that sort of thing. But this has really helped me have a clarity of mission that I didn't have before. And that's nice. And then I think on top of that, as I mentioned, I'm considering doing a doctorate in instructional technology. And while I've been doing this for quite some time, we've been doing it in, I guess, a more hands-on, in-person way. So my district has a very well-established structure and routine of what presentations look like, of what professional development looks like. And while there's absolutely a lot of wiggle room and like they do encourage us to, incorporate new technology. In fact, I'm very lucky. We also have an opportunity to put forth our own suggestions of what we would like our professional development to be. And a lot of us ask for, we're trying to stay on the cutting edge of technology, but honestly, it just moves so quickly. How do you, by the time you learn something and master something, there's already a new program or a device to replace that. And you're like, oh, okay, let me catch up on that one. So
right. Very true.
I'm really excited to just see what other people are doing with technology because I was in a DQ conversation with another scholar in our class earlier today, as a matter of fact, who was asking me about, you mentioned this. What is that platform? And I was able to explain it. And then I'm the person going, wait, what are you talking about? I've never heard of that before. Tell me all about it. And being able to sort of like give and receive and share a lot of that information about all the myriad different technologies that are available out there that no one person could absorb on their own. So being able to sort of scoop up everybody else's knowledge.
Right, exactly. And even as an instructor, I feel like it's a two-way street. I give so much as far as what I've learned over the years, but then I learn things too. So it's pretty amazing. Like a couple of years ago, one of my students introduced me to Genially. I was like, what's Genially? And she showed me one of her Geniallys, and I'm like, what is this? I've got to check this out. So then I did their intro course, and then within an hour, I created my first Genially, which was an interactive image. And since then,
oh, nice.
I was like, this is cool. I can use this for these things. And so I try to find ways to use those types of tools that are interactive and engaging. And then with Canva, Canva's gone just the AI now. It's just amazing. And Canva code and all that stuff, that I've been playing around with it a little bit more. And I've got a vocab game I can share that I'll share it in the class. It turned out really good. It took 3 attempts to get it the way I wanted it to, because each time you go into Canva code and even if you give it the same prompt, it will give you something different every time. It's never the same. That's what I've noticed about AI. It's different each time. You're never going to get the same result no matter what you do. But it was pretty cool to kind of try it again and say, oh, no, this is not working. Can you correct the counter? And I was like, correct these things. And it did. But it was funny because it took 2 hours for it to correct it. But I thought if I tried to do that on my own and code, that would take me weeks to do that. So I'm okay with waiting a couple hours if it can do it for me, rather than taking weeks to do something on my own. So it's amazing. I
haven't used the Canva AI features, but I have been, my district did provide us, like, hey, here's Canva, go jump in both feet. So I've been kind of an early adopter, and I have found just amazing luck getting 5th and 6th graders to buy into a topic. If you say, yeah, you can absolutely do your report in Canva. And then all of a sudden you get this creative infographic that shows everything they learned. And, so I really love the creativity that is possible with Canva.
Yes, it's amazing. There's so many great tools out there, that can be used for K through 12 education. So Adobe Spark is another one. A lot of students love that too. So yeah, if we can introduce them to that early on and get their interest in it and know that you don't have to be intimidated by the technology and really get creative with it, I think it really gets them, fueled with that. And then they really want to do the assignment. They're like, oh yeah, I'll do it. It'll be great. Yeah.
And that you can't break it. That's something that I have to keep reminding my 5th and 6th graders, you just try it. The worst that can happen is it just doesn't work. And then we'll start fresh, like go back to the homepage and start all over. You really can't break it.
Exactly. That's so true. Great. I love that. Those are great things that you can continue to build upon, because like you said, technology just keeps evolving, keeps changing, and we know AI is not going anywhere. So it's just going to keep changing and evolving in so many ways. And education is one of those places where it's going to get better and better. So it's great. So what are some tips and advice you can share with those that are considering enrolling in the master's program in instructional design, or maybe have just started? Because my audience is expanded quite a bit. It used to just be the niche of the GCU students, but I now have listeners all over the world. My highest listener demographic is the United States, of course, but then second highest, which I'm very surprised, is Germany.
Germany.
I know. I've never had students in Germany before in my classes. So I'm like, okay, they're finding it somehow. So it's really neat. Oh, there goes my camera. But anyway, so what are some tips and advice that you can share for those that are considering enrolling in the program?
First and foremost, I have had such a positive experience with my GCU counselor. So shout out to Samita. She's pretty fantastic. When I was even wondering whether or not I could fit the program into my schedule, and, I have a full-time job with another job on top of that. So I thought for a while, I don't know if this is going to be the right time or the right fit. And then I thought, well, wait, when is the right time? Because I'm not going to be less busy as I go. I'm just going to continue, if not get busier. So being able to sit down with my counselor and have her sort of like give me a rundown of exactly which courses were needed for the degree, what it would look like to be in those courses. And she was very clear. And she also offered me multiple opportunities of, if you're interested in this program, you can make it look like this. If you're interested in that program, you can make it look like that. And I don't know if I would have necessarily realized that this was for me if she hadn't made that such a transparent and seamless process. So definitely work with your counselor first.
Yes.
And then my second major piece of advice, I am fortunate to be sort of one of those obnoxiously organized people that it comes to me pretty naturally. But if you are not that way, I really recommend creating a structure at the outset. Don't wait until you've gotten a couple of courses in and you start to realize that you are missing things or something's falling through the cracks or you're falling behind. I'm even such an organized person that I sort of like triple dip into my organization. So I have everything organized on my hard drive of my computer, everything backed up on my Google Drive. And then I also keep a spreadsheet that has every, assignment that's due and make sure that I go through them. So really just keep your tasks pretty well organized. But I mentioned it at the top, ultimately the user interface of the LMS is so stable and so easy to work with that it's going to be hard to miss anything. So as long as you stay on top of your deadlines, you'll be okay. And know that you can absolutely fit those DQs in by just working on them, half an hour, 45 minutes at a time here. Same thing with your assignments. It's a manageable workload.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's great, that organization piece that you mentioned, because I'm the same way. I love being organized. I always have been that way. And so yeah, it helps, because when I was in my master's program at Walden University, I went and did my master's there fully online. So yeah, I had to make sure I stayed organized, and that really helped to keep things in check and know, okay, I'm not going to miss an assignment or a DQ because I know everything's in order. So that's great. And I agree that LMS makes a huge difference. If it's organized well and the user interfaces is good, that really helps. And they're always making improvements to the system, which is really great, because they want to make it easier, or as easy as possible, for faculty and students to navigate it and to utilize it. So so it's really great to have those in place. So wonderful. Are there any other ideas or thoughts you would have that you would like to share as we wrap up the podcast?
I just really want to emphasize that it's a lot more manageable than I expected. To the point where I'm doing a bit of a course overload. So for me, I decided not to take breaks between classes. So I finish one class on Wednesday and I start the new class on Thursday. And it's definitely, I'm not going to pretend that it's not, it doesn't require an outlay of energy, because it absolutely does. Right. And you have to be serious about it. But it's something that can be done in a reasonable amount of time. So I started in January and my predicted end date is November. So if you really are serious about it, and then maybe take short breaks between or no breaks between, and be prepared to, get through it, you can do that in a truly reasonable amount of time.
That's great. I love that. Yeah. And it sounds like you've got your momentum going and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to keep going, no breaks. And that way I know I can get done at a good amount of time, especially if you're considering the doctorate. You want to probably be able to just transition into that and just keep that momentum going, right?
That's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. I'd like to not slow down, because I've sort of got my feet under me, so I might as well run while I can. And then I also think too, I put off this program, and I pursued other graduate opportunities, but I put off this program just really thinking, I've been a teacher for such a long time. I don't want to learn more about teaching. I'm tired of, I teach all day, and then I'm going to go home and talk about teaching and learn about teaching. And so if there are any veteran educators out there, it's not just retreading everything that you know. There's going to be a lot that supports what you know and a lot that validates what you know, but also there's going to be a lot that reminds you of, I think I remember touching on that lightly during undergrad or during my credential program, but I never really looked at it in depth or from this perspective. And having other educators in the classes along with me has really led to sort of like a wealth of experiences, because there are some educators who have come straight from their bachelor's degree. And then there are others who are second career educators who are getting this degree. And then there are others who just, like me, are doing it sort of because we like to torture ourselves. We see the fun opportunities that could be in the future for us, but it's not a one size fits all education, and you'll be able to find a way to make it fit yourself.
I like that. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice too. I love that.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Caroline. I appreciate your time and being able to offer some great information, because all my listeners they thrive on that, and they love being able to learn from others that are in the field in different ways. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for taking some time to listen to this podcast episode today. Your support means the world to me. If you'd like to help keep the podcast going, you can share it with a friend or colleague, leave a heartfelt review, or offer a monetary contribution. Every act of support, big or small, makes a difference, and I'm truly thankful for you.